Go ahead. This young man, you look lost. Are you okay? Okay. You're still here. Sukratal is a holy place, very near to all of everything else. It's a very special place. It's where Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was first spoken. Not first spoken, but spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Here's a nice map. On the western side of UP, on the banks of the river Ganges, there it is, way, way, way on the western side of UP. And here's a photograph of at least what is said to be the very banyan tree, or Akshayvat, where some people say 5,100 years ago, Shukadeva Goswami sat beneath this tree and spoke Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. Special place. There's an ashram built in the vicinity of or around this tree called the Bhagavata Pita, Shukadeva Ashram. And here's a close-up of the base of the tree, a little chipmunk checking out what prasadam he can get. Now this particular banyan trees generally live very, very long time. This fellow lives a long, long time. It is said that the tree never sheds its leaves. Now, I don't know of a tree that doesn't shed its leaves, but this is one, they say. And it's, advertised in the Times of India. So, must be that it doesn't shed leaves. Here's another photograph of the same location. Big tree, isn't it? A big tree. And near this big tree, there's some deities of Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, and their footprints, meaning, some brass plate that has some marks on the brass plate. It's not, they're literally their footprints, but it's commemorating their presence here. And here's a deity of Krishna, and a deity of Krishna is giving his darshan, or his association, to both Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit, and an assembly of other sages, while Shukadeva Goswami is speaking Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam at Sukratal. There's a ghat, because there's Ganges nearby, so Sukratal, Ganga Ghat. We saw this from the different direction. Here it is from the inside looking out at the Ganga, and people taking their sacred bath in the Ganga at this location. Now somehow Hanuman made his way here, and there's a very, very large 75-foot tall Hanuman standing not in a temple but outdoors over the main temple. Here's a quote from Bhaktisiddhanta about the importance of this place. He visited in the area of Delhi and glorified Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam at Sukratal, where it is said, according to the ray of Vishnu, for some period, some number of days, just speaking on the Bhagavatam. Here is an interesting looking temple, Sutta Gadi. Sutta Gadi. Of course, Shukadev Goswami spoke at not Naimisharanya, he spoke at Sukratal, and later Sutta Goswami repeated or expressed what he heard from Sukadev Goswami at Naimisharanya. So here's a temple in Naimisharanya. And it's a very busy altar. You can see many Shalagram Shilas on the lower shelf, 108 Shalagram Shilas. And there's a deity on our right, Radha and Krishna, and our left is Sutta Goswami. Oh, excuse me, down below it looks like Sutta Goswami. And a little Krishna deity with a Shalagram Shila in front of him. So here's that same scene of Sukratal, and the history is, we're well aware, this is a nice BBT painting where Shukadev Goswami is speaking in a standing position. There's the Akshayvat or banyan tree in the background. He's not there, at least according to this artist's depiction. He is on the bank of the Ganges. There's the Ganges right by his side. From Prabhupada's purport, Canto 1, Chapter 19. When he was assured of his death on a fixed date, he became more determined in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna by complete fasting on the bank of the transcendental river Yamuna. Notice it doesn't say Ganga, which flows down by the capital of Hastinapur. So there's some differences of opinion and differences of text. Where was he at this place or where was he at that place? Next to Kurukshetra, in the northern part of the adjoining forest of Sukratal, along the Ganga, where Shukadev sat beneath a banyan tree in the midst of 80,000 sages and spoke the Bhagavatam to King Parikshit. So the very next verse, Srila Jiva Goswami has written, the king took shelter on the bank of the Yamuna, appears more accurate because of the geographical situation. Maharaj Parikshit resided in his capital in Hastinapur, and the river Yamuna flows down past the city. Naturally, the king would take shelter of the river Yamuna because she was flowing past his palace door. Pick your favorite. Both are Bhagavatam indicated and Acharya indicated, so some say this and some say that. A little bit more on this whole topic of Sukratal, the speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is described in great detail in the Brahma-Vaivarta Purana. There it is said that Vyasadeva maintained the daughter of Jabali as his wife, and that after they performed penances together for many years, he placed his seed in her womb. The child remained in the womb of his mother, notice the number of years, 12 years, another discrepancy. And when the father asked the son to come out, the son replied, no deal. He would not come out unless he was completely liberated from the influence of Maya. Now who can expect that at the time of birth? And this is 12 years, 9th canto, chapter 21. This is preceding 10th canto before Krishna appeared in 10th canto. So Shukadeva Goswami was prior to that chronologically. So the father, Vyas, went all the way to Dwarka and requested, Krishna, please come and give a promise, because my son doesn't believe me. Maybe he'll believe you. So Krishna made his promise. You can come out now. You'll be protected from Maya. So the number is, in some cases, 12, in some cases it's 16. Again, flip a coin and take your pick, because there are differences. And immediately upon his leaving the womb of his mother, poor mother, 16 years or 12 years, whatever it was, and the boy is already, a young fellow. And according to the verses of the Bhagavatam in this chapter, he immediately left home. And you see from this BBT painting, his father is chasing behind him. My dear son, please come back. His son didn't say no, didn't say yes, he didn't say anything. He just kept going. The verse says, all Vyasadeva could hear is the echo of his voice off the trees. And also the detail that's depicted in this painting is Shukadeva went by a lake where ladies were bathing without their clothes. And when Shukadeva Goswami went by, they understood his non-attraction to the material platform, so they didn't bother to cover themselves. But when Vyasadeva Grahastha came, they covered themselves. So it was apparent, although Shukadeva was a naked teenager, they were not disturbed, and nor was he. So then what happened? What happened was Vyasadeva had some students or disciples, and he sent the disciples into the forest equipped with verses from the Bhagavatam, his recent composition, and asked them to recite the verses. It's kind of like a bird call, calling the bird. And Sukadeva Goswami heard the verses and he became attracted. So he specifically described in the Bhagavatam as he had neutrality towards anything material. He was impersonally realized soul. He was an impersonalist because he had yet to hear the message of the personality of Godhead from his father. When he heard the verses from the Bhagavatam, he was attracted. And commentary says, aha, there's some evidence. The message of the Bhagavatam is not material. He who had no interest in something material became interested in the Bhagavatam, and therefore the Bhagavatam is not material. Even the verses that seem to be on ordinary topics or worldly topics. The literature is not a worldly literature. The sound vibration is not a worldly sound vibration. And so, to hear further, he came back, which was exactly Vyasadev's plan, and there's this nice painting. Shukadeva Goswami sat at the feet of his father and heard not just a verse or two, but he heard the entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam thoroughly, understood it thoroughly because he had no material attractions and was very focused in his hearing, and became a realized personality. And in course of time, he had the opportunity to recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam here at Sukratal to Maharaj Parikshit, and other sages were present also hearing his recitation. There's another nice section here that is, why is it important, or the significance of visiting this and other holy places? Now we're doing it virtually. We're sitting here in the temple room in Houston, Texas. And it's not, Vrindavan or Sukratal or Mayapur or Puri. It's Houston, Texas. These pastime places revive and reinforce our relationship with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in our lives. Five most potent, and one of them is hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and chanting the holy name and serving the devotees and worshiping the deity and residing in a holy place. So this, supposing one isn't able to reside, or we're not residing in a holy place, one of five is not there. Hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has a potency that can carry one by sound to that place. Here's Srila Prabhupada in a letter. Naimisharanya is a place where great sages and saints gather to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So our program there should be the same as everywhere. Have our temple and call neighboring persons to hear, especially from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Distribute our books to them, prasadam, like that. Our program is the same everywhere, indicating you don't have to reside at these places to perform those activities that we do in where there's a temple, because the temple is a place to have this type of activity. A very nice photograph. Prabhupada not only lectured from, but he also read from. He's reading his own Bhaktivedanta purports, because the purports themselves are expressions of transcendental inspiration from Krishna himself through the medium of our spiritual master, and he relished reading his own books because it wasn't just him, it was Krishna speaking. Here's a little message on the importance of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from a purport, Canto 2. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord, but it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also, because it explains that even the non-devotees hovering on the spell, under the spell of the material energy, can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with devotion and attention from the right source, representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Now there's a whole series of glorifications. This is Srila Prabhupada. Here's Bhaktisiddhanta. And in a little booklet, it's not a full big book publication, but a little small book. No other book like the Bhagavad is the title, and the title is in English, not Bengali. Even if all the books of the world were burned, there would be no harm, provided one treatise was left. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even if thousands of learning centers were to be abolished, there would be no feeling of inconvenience, provided the reading and teaching of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam continued. He had a lot of faith, and thus his hearing and his speaking from the Bhagavatam was very powerful. This is Bhaktisiddhanta in his writings, Chaitanya's teachings. There are no other books in the world like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is not mere tittle-tattle or an exaggerated homage. If one reflects on it as a truly impartial judge, one will realize that there has not been, nor will there ever be, a book like the Bhagavatam. And continuing through our disciplic succession, here's his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. From Pranava, or Om, came Gayatri. From Gayatri came the Vedas. From the Vedas came the Brahma Sutra, and from the Brahma Sutra came the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which has brightly risen like a Satchit Ananda sun. Those who have eyes should see, those who have ears should hear, and those who have minds should meditate on the topics of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from his Sri Krishna Samhita introduction. Here is a very nice painting of Sanatana Goswami. When Sri Sanatana was young, I like this history, a Brahmana appeared to him in a dream and blissfully gave him a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Now, it's not the Bhaktivedanta BBT publications. It's without the purports of Srila Prabhupada. It's just, a handwritten, in his dream, a handwritten copy of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And blissfully gave him a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. When he woke up, he was perturbed. Interesting. Later that morning, the same Brahmana came and gave him the Bhāgavatam. When he obtained the Bhāgavatam, Sanatana became ecstatic and merged into the ocean of prema. After this incident took place, Sanatana began reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam daily, like for the rest of his life. So he's a natural lover of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and a natural knower of its message. There's another very nice example of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is the queens, as you may know. When Krishna departed, and a directive was given by Krishna that his queens should be taken to Vrindavan. So they were taken to Vrindavan under the cover and protection of Arjuna, but on the way Arjuna had a little problem because some dacoits wanted to harass the gopis and he couldn't repel them, and he told all this to Yudhishthira. But eventually they made it, the queens made it to Vrindavan. And they developed a desire to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. After Krishna's disappearance from this world, his queens came to Braja, where Vajranabha, Krishna's grandson, was protecting them. One day, while being tormented by the pain of separation from Krishna, they noticed their co-wife Kalindi alone was happy. Why? They asked her. Then she explained this detail about Uddhava's remedy, and that Uddhava remedy was speaking to the Braja Gopis. So as Uddhava was speaking to the Braja Gopis about Krishna, then the queens thought, well, let's hear from Uddhava. In the company of Maharaj Parikshit and Vajranabha, the queen set out to find Uddhava with a great festival of Krishna Sankirtan, because it was said, and it happened this way, at Uddhava Kund, Uddhava had a prayer that he wanted to get the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, but the gopis would be too shy to give dust from their feet, so he made a prayer. May I one day take birth as a blade of grass in Vrindavan, and the gopis may come by, and dust from their feet may land on my grass head, and I'll be benedicted by the dust of their feet. So that was his desire. His desire was granted. And so they had kirtan. And when they got to Uddhava Kund and having uproarious kirtan, all of a sudden, Uddhava came out of the grove of bushes and creepers. Finding all of them absorbed in Krishna kirtan, Uddhava offered his respects and embraced Maharaj Parikshit. Now, where is this referenced? It's from a section, two places, Skanda Purana and Padma Purana. Two places where what we just narrated is described. And when you visit Vrindavan, surely one of the things you'll do is Govardhan Parikrama. And one of the things that you do when you pass by Uddhava Kund, doing Govardhan Parikrama, most likely your Parikrama group will stop and hear this nice pastime, but you already know the pastime. So then you can hear the pastime in the place where it happened. Uddhava said to Maharaj Parikshit, "Oh, king, you are most fortunate. You are always in exclusive devotion to Krishna among all the inhabitants of Dwarka. These queens are without a doubt most fortunate. Under the influence of Yogamaya, they have forgotten themselves and are suffering from anxiety caused by separation from Krishna. Unless Krishna becomes visible to them, none of them will regain their proper consciousness. But Krishna has wound up his pastimes. That time has finished. And now we have entered a different age. But listen, and I'll tell you another way. Guess what the other way is? Here's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He can be visible through the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. No, it takes a certain kind of eagerness, and when Krishna sees the eagerness of his devotees, he certainly can reciprocate. Here's a nice section from Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. The meaning of Vedanta Sutra is present in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The full purport of Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of Brahma Gayatri is also there, and fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the supreme Purana, and it was compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. There are 12 cantos, 33 chapters, and 18,000 verses. Very detailed. And so the devotees in Puri, this painting commissioned by the king, is the devotees sitting around at Narendra Sarovar hearing Gadadhar Pandit recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And behind him, there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya, and Haridas Thakur, and this one, that one. Principal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Here's another painting of the same. Manifestations of the Bhagavatam at different times and different forms. Now, you may remember one of the places we visited in the morning was a place where it is said that Narada Muni and the Kumaras were discussing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Remember that? So here from Skanda Purana, there's a reference where Lord Krishna speaks the Bhagavatam to Lord Vishnu. And another place, Lord Vishnu speaks to the goddess Lakshmi. Again, Skanda Purana. Again, Lord Narayana, a nice painting, to Lord Shiva in Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana. Other Puranas like to glorify the Bhagavad Purana. It's not uncommon. It's actually, as you can see, quite common. Here's, in our Bhagavatam, Narayana speaks directly to Lord Brahma. 3rd canto, 12th canto, 2nd canto. Lord Narayana speaks directly to Lord Brahma. Here's Lord Brahma speaking directly to Narada. Here's Narada speaking to Vyas. Here's Vyas compiling Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And after compiling Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then this series of events take place. Śukadeva Goswami is born, and then he runs off after some time, and he narrates Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Śukadeva Goswami. And then Śukadeva Goswami narrates the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And in the audience, we don't know which one, but you see there's Narada, but Sutta Goswami is in the audience, and later Sutta is requested to speak Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami is a very interesting description. And that is, after Shukadeva Goswami finished in his 7 days speaking Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he got up and left. And when he got up and left, then Maharaj Parikshit's mother, being a privileged lady, she came forward to her son and said, I heard everything, but I couldn't understand it. Could you explain it? And Maharaj Parikshit says, my dear mother, this isn't the normal time one would ask such a question because you're my mother, I'll answer. And the answer was Bhagavatamrita. So Maharaj Parikshit to his mother Uttara before the snake bird appeared. The entire first part of the Bhagavatamrita is his answer to his mother's question. And then she said, could you say more? And so there's part 2. The painting we saw earlier. I'm sure you remember the Saptarishis. One of the Saptarishis is this Kashyapa. And Kashyapa was on his way to the place where the Bhagavatam had just completed being narrated because the snake bird in this image was going to arrive. And when the snake bird was approaching, the snake bird saw Kashyapa and said, he assumed a brahmana's form instead of a snake bird and asked, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to it's foretold that the king will be bitten by a snake bird and his body would instantly burst in flames. So I have this mantra and the way to neutralize the poison. Oh, really? Could you demonstrate? And he demonstrated. So there was a nearby tree, and the nearby tree burst into flames, and Kashyapa knew the mantras and the procedure and put out the fire. So the tree was standing instead of ashes. And so the snake bird Takshaka, in the form or disguise of a brahmana, said, are you expecting some dakshin? Oh yes. This is standard. It's appropriate for the person who receives the benefits of a brahmana's visit. He said, he gave him, you see, he's carrying a pot of gold. Will this replace, so you don't have to go there? The dakshin will be taken care of here. This is yours. So he went away. And then Takshaka assumed the snakebird form instead of the brahmana form and came and bit Maharaj Parikshit. His body burst into flames. That's the description. At Naimisharanya, after it being spoken at Sukratal, Sutta spoke again, second time. And we already heard, here's Uddhava speaking the Bhagavatam to the queens of Dwarka along the banks of the river Jamuna. And then there's another incident where Shiva is speaking the Bhagavatam to Parvati. And this is, there's a subtext. This is a tradition in Bhubaneswar. So if you're not from Bhubaneswar, you've never heard this one before. But in Bhubaneswar, that's a tradition. Because Bhubaneswar is a place where Lord Shiva is worshipped. And he's being honored. The Bhagavatam to Uddhava from Skanda Purana. And then continuing, Parashara Muni spoke to Maitreya. and Maitreya spoke to Vidura. So we have our principal source in Sukratal. Shukadev Goswami spoke, but we should, at least in the back of our mind, be aware, according to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself and many other scriptural references, the Bhagavatam has been spoken many times by great authorities who received it into cyclic succession or otherwise, and it's the subject matter. It's not to say the same 18,000 verses and the same this and the same that. The Bhagavatam that we have has that structure, 12 cantos, etc. But the Bhagavatam is the Bhagavatam. The essence of the Bhagavatam is the glorification of Bhagavan and his incarnations, and at least in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 10 topics discussed in full. And we saw already that list of 10 topics. And the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has all of it. And the version that we have, not only the BBT version, but the 18,000 verses of the Bhagavatam, it's standard. Knowing full well that there are other texts or other versions. And occasionally, when you read carefully the Bhaktivedanta purports, you'll find that different acharyas at times will say there are different versions of this particular verse, and there's this word or that phrase that differ in different versions. However, there are standard versions that are commonly accepted, and those differences are minor, they're subtle, they're not like jugular. It doesn't rearrange the whole meaning of the Bhagavatam. It's just subtle implications, that's all, of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So for us, this place, Sukratal, the place where Shukadev Goswami spoke Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, is of great importance. And it's in this same vicinity of Haridwar and Rishikesh and the same area. It's a very important holy place. Okay. We finished a little bit early. I thought it would take longer. But 20 after. So let's see if there's some discussion. You've all been pretty amazing audience, besides sticking with it, having lots of nice topics for discussion. I'm impressed and appreciating.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. Like when I heard you telling that Kashyapa tried to stop the snake biting him.
He wasn't trying to. He went with that intention. That was his service.
Oh. But nobody else tried other than...
There's no indication of somebody else. It's just Kashyapa. And that was his service, and it was interrupted.
My question is if Parikshit Maharaj wanted it to be stopped, he could do that. Is that how it is? But he accepted the curse?
He accepted, I've done a wrong thing, and I'm to be punished according to the Lord's indication. So he wasn't messing around. He just accepted. And and as a result, his mind is fixed on the personality of Godhead, and that's how the Bhagavatam ends. And he went back to Godhead. No, it wasn't like, I want out of here, this place is crazy. It was just, he was accepting the plan of the Lord.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. I have two questions. One is when Uddhava wanted to leave with Krishna, when Krishna was closing his pastimes,
Yes.
and but Krishna said that he has some instructions to follow.
Yes, he
so
did.
he cannot go. So was not one of the instructions given by Krishna to Uddhava to
Go to Badrik Ashram and give his association to Narayana Rishi and their followers.
and
And he did it.
And what about his wives?
What about him?
So that was not given.
No
by...
mention.
Okay.
You know, she said Haribol. No mention.
Okay. The other question is, you mentioned in the slide, like Shiva gave the Bhagavatam to Parvati. So I heard somewhere like.
I heard somewhere.
So I just want to confirm. So
I recommend before you even finish the rest of your question, you do a little research before you fill our ears with something that I heard somewhere. You follow?
yes, I do.
It's like, you know, put a strong, not just a period, but an exclamation point. Don't make sound vibrations that you don't know where it's coming from, and is it authorized, or is it gobbledygook, or is it shastra?
That's why I want to confirm. So when
You're going to do it anyways.
I just want to confirm.
You do your homework before you put this sound vibration out. That's my request. Because, you know, there's so much sawdust floating around, and, you know, who needs more?
Sure.
Is this sawdust, or is it, what is it? Take responsibility and do some homework and do some research. And, you know, I heard somewhere. Perhaps, maybe. Don't, you know, it's just advice. It's protecting you and protecting the rest of us. To hear, I heard somewhere, and is there substance to this or not? Is that okay? Is that irritating, that response? Well, do some homework and research. But in a public forum like this isn't I'm just sticking to my position. It's not a good idea. Because then we'll all hear that perhaps maybe, and that person who is guiding your Krishna consciousness in a private communication, not a public one like this, present, if you've done some homework and you can't find, and then you seek consultation that way, and then instead of fill our ears with, I heard somewhere. I've been at this service of acting as a spiritual guide to people for a few years, and but from that experience, I'd rather cut somebody off before they go off and, I heard somewhere, because in many cases it's just gobbledygook, or then it leaves the question, it's the research question. I never heard that one before. Maybe it is an authentic, maybe it's not an authentic, maybe it's gobbledygook, and maybe it's just I don't know the scriptural reference. And then it's a dead end. So then do some research and find out. So from those few years of experience, a few decades of experience, I'd rather not go down that path, and rather perhaps privately. And then if I have not heard, what I would do personally is I'd ask persons that are very knowledgeable persons. So make friendships or relationships, at least, with knowledgeable persons, and rather than in a public forum, and put it out there for ears to hear. Perhaps maybe I heard somewhere. Generally speaking, those are, fiction or folklore, or there's no scriptural authority behind it. Just like, in the morning session, there was this discussion about someone, crossing some water, and Radhakrishna sent me the exact reference. It was Bhavananda that said, he held up his arm, Prabhupada leaned on his arm, they crossed over the water body, and then Prabhupada pushed his arm out of the way, and Bhavananda, so that it's referenced. No harm, because they, anyway. You follow what I'm saying, I hope. And so for your own sake and for the sake of a public assembly like this, be cautious, be a little circumspect about airing sound vibration. I heard somewhere. Next.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, what is the name of the Shukadeva Goswami's mother?
I forget the name. Does anybody in the room know the name? Vyasadev's wife, or Shukadeva Goswami's mother's name? Huh? Spell it. Vada? Vartika. Vatika. 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 It's worth checking, but my memory says yes, that's right, Vatika. Vatika, Vatika. Here we go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay.
Yesterday...
I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been? Nice to see you. Hi, Bo. Glad you can come. Go ahead.
So yesterday I was listening on the live on the YouTube. There's in one of your slides you said that Krishna has a verse in the Bhagavad Gita where he says, "I am the knowledge of the Saptarishis." Like there's one reference.
I am the knowledge of the...
I mean, it was a verse out of Bhagavad Gita, and it says...
But be careful what it says. I'm editing what you're saying.
Okay.
I said. Before you... I don't recall saying, Krishna said, I am the word spoken by the Saptarishis. I am the knowledge of the Saptarishis.
Yeah, something like...
yeah, but what's the something? You want to know what the something is?
Right, and also, like, is there anything, like, did they get formal instruction from Krishna in a previous age, or like how, how were they trained by him, or like how he had spoken to the sun god about the Gita? Is there some reference elsewhere that...
yeah, of course, but it's not that 700 verses were spoken by Krishna to the sun god Vivaswan. Rather, the message, the essence of the message was the same essence in both cases, or in all cases, because that wasn't the first time or the last time. It's Krishna's message.
Okay.
So that seemed to be what you're asking. It's not the verbatim text each time he speaks. No, it's the essence.
Okay.
No, the other question that you raised, I didn't say what you said I said. You want to know what I said? That's your question. What's the verse from chapter 10 Bhagavad Gita?
Right.
When Krishna is making reference to the Saptarishis.
Right.
That's what you want to know.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up because my memory is like a sieve. But You send me a little note as a reminder.
Sure.
Would you believe I'm busy? Like, 4 classes in one day, and then 4 classes yesterday, and 4 classes again tomorrow. It's like, so I may not remember, and I may not exactly answer your question. So you know how to contact me. Send me a text message with your question, and I'll respond.
Okay, sure.
But you can also do some research. What does it say in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita about Krishna speaking about the Saptarishis? It's pretty simple.
Right. Yeah. That's why
I can do your homework for you. That's okay.
No, that part led me to this thinking, like, was there like any formal instruction in previously that he imparted to these Saptarishis?
And specifically to the Saptarishis. Not just anyone, but specifically.
Yeah. Right.
So as Krishna spoke to the sun god, Krishna spoke to Arjuna, did Krishna speak to the Saptarishis?
Correct.
That's really your question.
Yes.
Radha Krishna is, he's twiddling his thumbs over there, looking up the answer. Do you have the answer? Because, this ping pong repartee isn't. So, send me your text and I'll respond.
Sure.
And, if it's something that we should share with others, we'll do it in subsequent classes.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. He's got his I'm sure, a very interesting question. Or 3 questions or something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class. You mentioned about Jiva Goswami saying that Maharaj Parikshit heard Bhagavatam on the banks of
Yes.
Yamuna.
Yes.
And
He writes it, not he heard it.
Right.
He wrote, that's his part of his writing. So now go ahead.
does that mean this place Sukratal is just one of the local folklore, or is it?
It is what it is. It's Jiva Goswami doing the Jiva Goswami. And his reasoning is what his reasoning is.
Right.
The verse speaks of the Ganga. Jiva Goswami is, he has etiquette. He's not saying Vyasadeva made a mistake. He's writing in his commentary something. And it would make sense to Jiva Goswami that the place was by the side of the river Jamuna because, and he gives his reasons. Now you want to know which is it?
No, I'm just curious. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's Jiva Goswami's acumen and his etiquette. He knows how to say things that aren't, insulting to the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But he doesn't remain silent. He writes it, and it is in his own very cultured, non-confrontational way. To me, this is reasonable, or it seems reasonable. It's by the side of the Jamuna, not by the side of the Ganga. Now, there's a devotee who expressed something similar. I won't mention the devotee's name. They're probably listening right now, screaming. And, other than Jiva Goswami's reference, there's other references that seem, from those other references, that it's by the side of the Jamuna, not by the side of the Ganga. But preponderance is by the side of the Ganga. And the place is by the side of the Ganga. Now, what's a young fellow like you going to do with that contradiction? You smile. Does it really matter? Okay. The sacredness of the Jamuna and Ganga are both accomplished on the banks of the river Ganga, the banks of the river Jamuna. There's something over here.
Mentioned that in the Padma Purana there's a Bhagavad Mahatmya. You mentioned that the Bhagavatam is glorified in other Puranas. Is it safe to say that there's more glorification of the Bhagavatam than from other Puranas than any other Purana?
I'm having a hard time understanding. Do you understand, Radha Krishna, what he's asking? Can you give...
What I gathered is he's asking, are there more glorifications of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the other Puranas?
Oh, that's what you're asking? It's abundant. There's some prominent, and there are many, many. The answer to your question is yes. There are many, many. Some are especially prominent, like Bhagavad Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. And there are others that are like extensive glorifications of Bhagavad Purana within other Puranas. So the answer is yes.
So is it safe to
If
say,
you want such a list, I can't provide that in the moment.
is it safe to say that it appears that that's more for the Bhagavad Purana than any other Purana?
Any other Puranas, it's especially glorified. The Bhagavad Purana is especially glorified by the other Puranas. Now, are there other Puranas that glorify other than the Bhagavad Purana? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question, if that's what you're asking. I don't know. Is something online? Huh? Nothing. Okay. Okay. It looks like you get the last question.
I really like the slide of you sharing about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, about importance of Bhagavatam. That made me also take it more serious about reading Bhagavatam as my main focus. I have been trying, but it has been a struggle. I joined afternoon group of Bhagavatam.
Really?
Yeah, I could read till 7th canto, but after that I had difficulty joining because of time conflict. And then I tried to join another group, but they're in a different
Time
they're
zone.
or they are doing some other canto. So I've been having struggle to finish. My question is, I finally started to read alone read with one Mataji. But when we started reading, I had difficulty with so many, I had so many questions. And then it took me time to understand, finding references or listening to lectures. So my question is, I'm having difficulty or struggle to read systematically and getting help with questions or
What to do?
what to do. And also I wanted to be part of my family time also, help my daughter also involve reading little bit of Bhagavatam, but sometimes she finds it a little boring, especially some cantos. So I want a practical suggestion.
Well, the second question isn't as easy to answer. But the first question is, a response to your first question is, there are multiple sources, not abundant, but there are multiple sources that have systematic study of the Bhagavatam. Yes? And they're structured. And they have a beginning and a middle and an end, and there's a certificate at the end. So it's not like the importance is getting a certificate. The importance is being part of something where it's systematic and comprehensive and thoughtful. Now, there are different entities, and the entities do it again and then recycle it again. Some persons, they're not part of one of those entities. They have their mandate and their mission, and my recommendation is find a teacher or a system or combination. Be part of two different things. One that's, the structured something. Another is a teacher that's, a gifted teacher that does. And they go through and just, as much as your schedule permits, you become part of that group or those two groups. And then, your problem is solved, or at least, you have a solution, that you just stay with it. And there's, staying with something for a stretch of time to cover the entire Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that's commitment. But what's behind the commitment is, it's important. The why makes the what easy. So you have some whys, it's more, what to connect with. There are devotees, there's a third option. There are some devotee groups, ladies groups primarily, that I'm aware of, and they're committed, and they read together, and consistently, and that may be more comfortable for you. I don't know. You're nodding. More comfortable, huh? Yeah. So if you ask around, I can ask around for you, because from time to time people ask me, what should I do? Same question. And there are some common ones, and some people that are educators. Radha Krishna, you probably know off the top of your head. What are the sources to point somebody to? But some of those sources may not be people that he knows. Here's one. In Potomac, there's a devotee named Bayahari. And Bayahari is like fantastic teacher, and everybody. So I don't know in what cycle he's in with the Bhagavatam. He just completed a whole batch with like 70 people with Bhakti Shastri, and he has a Bhakti Vaibhav session that he does, and I don't know what his policy is, but I do know the people that sign up with him, they really like it, because his personality and comprehensive and very personal, and so there are such people that are not part of any system, like ISKCON Mayapur, ISKCON Vrindavan have some system. And they don't, they just sign people up, and the teacher goes, and the students follow along. It's not as warm as you know the person. Anyway, different strokes for different folks, and different, the time zone difference, and it's an important question, because you have an interest, and the interest should be nourished or facilitated. So continue searching, and you'll come up with something. If you have any recommendations, you can suggest them to her, and she can explore. Now, the second one is, youth and their interest in the Bhagavatam, and they easily get bored, and, what to do, because they easily get bored, especially certain sections of the Bhagavatam. So, the reality has to, expectations don't often match reality, and reality doesn't match expectations. So, I would, I'm not a parent, but you understand what the spirit and disposition of your dependent is, and as a mother, you try to find some connection that's, matches the spirit and the propensities of your dependent. That it's, first of all, wholesome, and then second of all, it matches their propensities, more or less. And, young people get fidgety. It's hard for them to stay with stuff, anything. It's not easy. Parenting isn't easy, and being a youth isn't easy.
Thank you, Maharaj. I'll find out.
Okay. I think we should. You have something?
Question from Amara Mataji.
Okay, she's busy today.
She asks, what is the thought process of a pure devotee? Like,
What? Wait a minute.
so basically, her question is, how do they discern that they need to do something practical or not to do something practical at the cost of even their own death? You know, how do they go about discerning whether I should, what practical or what step I should take?
Oh gosh. There are devotees with whom you regularly associate and take guidance from. I would say those devotees who know you are those devotees you should go to for guidance on this question. Because they know you. And you know the this and the that's and the ups and the downs and you know and your children and all that stuff. So someone that knows you well and is wise, and they're not controller type people, they're just wise people. So consult with those individuals. And then that which resonates, you take some baby steps in the direction of what resonates, and you know, see what doors open. And you know, outside and inside, both. You know, just making progress in spiritual life isn't a formula. There are principles, and you should, you know, by studying of scripture, you'll understand the principles. And then, you know, particulars, how to apply this principle or that principle, then it's a little bit, you know, on the personal or subjective side. And persons that are wise can guide you, wise and know you well. You know, with the sadhu sangha principle. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.